Hello and welcome. We are going to go ahead and get started. This is Create a Comic Book Character, Collaborative Writing Fun in the Classroom. And yes, this will be a mother and son collaborative presentation. We are so excited to bring this to you. So we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, a little bit about our presentation, and jump right in. So I am Lauren Burrow. I am an associate professor of education studies at Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas. I primarily teach elementary ed pre-service teachers in the fine arts and literacy. I myself love the arts. Every definition of creativity and arts brings me joy. I would say my happy place is museums. And I am definitely Team Captain America. And now my co-presenter and son, Triston Burrow, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm a Marvel/MCU fan. I am a D&D Dungeon Master and D&D player, and I enjoy playing video games.
So tonight's session, we will be focusing on character development, drafting a quick character-driven story. We invite you to play along. So I'll give you a few moments if you want to grab something to sketch on, to sketch ideas, to jot down some notes. This is meant to be an interactive session. We will be kind of guiding and prompting you through. We will end with some tips for who to follow to learn more about this, to kind of expand in your own classrooms and libraries. And we welcome future conversations. You can reach both of us at laurenburrowedd@yahoo.com. And I will say that this session was mostly out of the imagination of Triston. He has crafted a lot of the prompts that are meant to get you and your students writing and creating. He has presented this to my own pre-service teacher several times and at state conferences. I learned something from him every single time we do this. It's really enjoyable. We are comic book focused tonight, specifically on superheroes, super sheroes. We are both, as you can see, we are Marvel fans. We are MCU fans. We won't say we are experts because that's complicated. Comic books are always kind of changing the story, or they change the character. So it can be really hard to be an expert. So as we go through, if you know some backstories that kind of are different, or if you've seen the MCU version versus the Marvel Comics version, the point is just to take that inspiration from comics and help your students connect to a topic that they are probably naturally inclined to be excited about and get them writing. So let's get started. Step one in creating a comic book superhero, super shero, you gotta pick your power. That is something that most young students have already thought about. I wish I could fly. I wish I could read minds. I wish I could run super fast. Now, if you are also thinking about powers, you can challenge your students to think about everyday superpowers. For example, when I've done this in the past with Triston, I think about my own personal life, and I wish that I had the power to say the right thing at the right time all the time. So we really can take those basic traditional superhero powers, or really challenge our students to think through an everyday power for their own lives. Their responses can help you as their teacher, as their librarian, to truly understand what is maybe of interest in their life, what is of concern in their lives, or what really is something that they are interested, or favorites or hobbies, things of that nature. So this is a great writing activity for students, but it's also a great way to get to know your students. So when you are asking students to engage in this first step, if they aren't quite sure what their power should be, it's okay to say, maybe you don't have a superpower. There are lots of examples that Triston's going to talk about. There's so many throughout the comics, and we kind of chose a few to just represent that you don't always have to have a superpower. You could just have really cool gadgets. You might need to prompt students to extend their thinking, to extend their writing about the character. Because again, this first part is about developing a really rich character. So how did you get your superpower? Can you turn it off and on? How do you turn it off and on? So lots of open-ended critical questions, follow-up questions. When they say, I'm done, okay, but are your superpowers going to be used for good and evil? Can you control if they are used for good and evil? Do you have an internal struggle about using your powers for good and evil? So Triston, will you talk us through these comic book examples and how they represent different powers in superheroes?
The first one is the one on the top left, and that would be Shazam slash Billy Batson. He got his powers from a wizard. The second one would be on the one on the top right, would be Flash slash Wally. Sorry, slash Barry Allen, and he got his. I believe he was struck by lightning, which made him super fast. The ones below, or the one at the bottom left, is Agent Carter, and the one at the bottom right is Nick Fury, and they don't have powers, just super cool gadgets.
So you might need to do some research. You might need some inspiration from the comics. And some of your students may be very well versed in, oh, I know exactly what kind of superpower I want and exactly how I got it. So it's okay to borrow ideas when doing this. So for example, Tristan and I have already engaged in some conversations about creating new characters for tonight's session. So for Tristan, right off the bat, he knew he wanted invisibility. So Tristan, tell us a little bit about your superpower.
Mine is invisibility. I was born with it. I can turn it on and off, and I control it through I control it through thoughts, and I use it for evil uses.
For myself, I was going to default to the one I normally do about wanting to be able to speak my mind. And Tristan really pushed me. And I think that's what's great is if you partner students together, they can have discussions back and forth and really challenge each other. But what if? And what if you did this? And could you try that? So along the same lines of wanting to kind of draw from my own life, I am a mother, I am a scholar, I have lots on my plate. So I kind of would love to have more than one of me. So multiplicity is my superpower. Unbeknownst to me, my identical twin and I merged in the womb. And when I came in contact with an alien crystal, the multiplicity was unlocked. Tristan helped me really challenge my creativity and get me thinking through what could be this superpower and kind of pulling from other comics, but just really having fun with it. I've decided I don't control it. It's situational. So this already presents a problem for me. I can't just turn on this second me and have her go do things. It has to be a situation that warrants that multiplicity. But I do use it for good, helpful reasons. So if you are sketching along with us, if you're jotting down some ideas, please do. Just quickly, what's your superpower? How did you get it? Basic questions, and there's always so many extensions you can add to this lesson. So now that you have a superpower, you want to pick your name. Now, the way we're presenting this, you can go out of order. You can decide to edit and redesign and reorder. But the reason why we go with that superpower is because oftentimes young students have thought about that. I wish I could fly. I wish I could do this. And so then we can start to build a character layer by layer. We next pick our name. Does it match your power, or is it just something original? You just really like the name. Did you choose your name, or was it bestowed upon you when you got your superpower? Is it an homage to a loved one or another superhero? When working with your multilingual students, you could really say, let's think through home language. Is there a term that you want to translate? Can you go to mythology? Can you get inspired by some of our other subject matter lessons? What makes sense, or what do you just like? So for example, Ms. Marvel, she is inspired by Captain Marvel and wants to be like her, but in her own way. So there is that homage to the name. Tristan, what about our other named superheroes here?
The one at the top left is Black Panther, which is clearly supposed to be based off the animal Black Panther. The one in the bottom left and the bottom right, so just kind of the bottom half, are just they're going original. There has nothing to do with their it's not like an homage or this or another or an homage to a loved one or another superhero.
So this doesn't really tell us more about the power. Black Panther, we might think of strength, we might think of a setting, but we're still not really sure about the powers that are possessed. But all of this can start to align. So this is a great way to have students revisit their writing continuously through this project to say, am I staying true to the character? Do I want to revise? Do I need to change? Do I need to explain? So Groot, which may just seem very off, is in essence Groot's language. So there is a kind of backstory to that. So for Triston and myself, I knew that because it was twins, I had some background knowledge about mythology, and I did have to do some research. So again, giving students a reason to go look for answers, to fill in some holes in their writing. I knew there was mythology, and I did confirm that there is the Greek twins, Castor and Pollux. So I decided that, in my regular form, my human form, I'd be Castor, and this secret twin would be Pollux. Triston, how did you arrive at your name?
So my name is imperceptible, and mine is a synonym for invisibility.
And how did you find that synonym?
Using the thesaurus.
So again, we're giving them real reasons to use writers' tools. Triston knew he didn't want to just go with invisible man or invisi-man, but he wanted another word for invisible. So it was natural and a real reason to use a thesaurus. So now that you have your power and your name, let's make your suit. Now for this session, we are just going to describe our suits. We will end with some suggestions for some awesome illustrators if you are wanting the students to actually draw this out. And we have done that in other sessions before. But the point of the suit is for students to talk through, to draft out, to outline. Does it match with my name? Does it enhance or make my power stable? Is it homemade? Or was it crafted by mythical powers? Was it the result? As soon as I got my power, this suit just appeared. And symbols, thinking through color, thinking through the meaning of symbols. So for example, I told you I'm Team Cap, his star. That is something we all associate with him for so many reasons. We've got the American stripes of the flag, the red, white, and blue. And as Triston said, that star is supposed to be a symbol of
hope.
Of hope. So again, understanding and anything that the students decide, you can always push them. Why? How? Tell me more. Explain, justify, because we want to have a really full, rich character. Triston, will you talk about these other characters and how their suits, their costumes go into and kind of add to and or complement their powers?
The one on the top is Magneto, and his suit, I believe, boosts his powers. The one on the bottom left is the Human Torch, which his suit makes his power stable. Otherwise, I think he would burn himself.
So there is a little bit of rooted reality. We've talked about, Tristan and I, that the fun thing with comics is there's not always rules. We can defy the laws of physics. But as a subject matter teacher, you could really encourage your students to think through what types of materials conduct heat, which resist heat. What would happen if, when somebody comes on flame, what is the age-old problem? And as we were talking that through, even though we've already made some decisions about Triston's character, the more you discuss, the more you get your students revisiting their writing, they'll start to see, oh, but wait a minute. But what would happen? And if? So again, just so many reasons for them to go back and add details. For mine, Triston just really inspired me and said, purple. I am SFA. We are the Lumberjacks. Purple is our color. So that made sense. I decided a tracksuit. I was thinking if Pollux is, dealing with all of these issues and problems, she's a worker. So she needs a tracksuit, and the X for multiplication. So the X, I might need to explain my symbol is supposed to be that multiplication symbol for my power of multiplicity. Now for Triston, when I asked him, because this can be an interviewing process between students, it could be a teacher-student, it could be a whole group question and students are individually answering in their journals. I asked him, so what's your costume going to be? And his answer was?
I'm just going to leave it blank.
And it took me a moment. well, are you just skipping this? Do you not want to make a suit? And then I realized when he smiled at me that he was staying true to his character, which is what we want students to do. We want them to understand, just as you have a topic sentence in writing and you need to continue to refer back to it with supporting details, he is staying true to his character. His character is invisible. Now, since then, we've had a few discussions about invisibility and what is your character wearing when they're not invisible, because they can turn it on and off. Or when they are invisible, do they have a suit that we are not going to see in an illustration, but that we want to assure the readers that they have something on? Or is the character imperceptible, just running around naked? Have you made some decisions about that, Triston?
Yeah, I've decided he just has clothes on. You just can't see him.
Excellent. So again, you can always follow up with your students. When they give you an answer, give them a chance to explain. They're so creative. They're so full of imagination. And it really shows that they've got a lot of critical thinking going on. So now there is this option to choose a secret identity. At this point, again, there's so many branches to this writing activity. You might have a secret identity. You might have an alternate personality. Triston's going to talk about the different ways this can show up in comics. Do you want everyone to know that you're a superhero? Do you, is that the problem that is coming? You've been secret for so long and now you've been found out. Do you have, what's your regular person name? Do you have a daily job? So this again adds layers to that main character and potentially sets up for some plots, so, okay, we have a secret identity and we have to work to maintain it. We have a secret identity and it's been found out. So now what's going to happen? So the deeper the character, the more richer and detailed this comic book character is, the students are already doing a lot of the drafting work for that future story. So Triston, how are some ways that there are split personalities, alternate personalities, secret identities in the comics from these examples?
Well, the one at the top is Amadeus Cho. He is one of the Hulks, and unlike the regular Hulk, he actually does not have a split personality. I believe it's just he is in control of his Hulk. And the bottom two, the bottom one on the bottom left is Gwen Stacy, and the one on the bottom right is her secret. Is her like a superhero identity, Spider Gwen slash I think Gwen Spider, and then there's one other, I'm blanking on the name, sorry.
And that's something we've noticed through our comics. As we said, we're such huge fans, but the more we read, we realize that as the superheroes age, they might change their name. When a current event happens, they might change their name. They might have to because something tragic happens and they go on a different trajectory. But by creating these different personalities or layers to the character, we could have a whole writing session about their everyday persona. We could have a whole writing session about their superhero persona. The days when it activates, the days when it doesn't. If you're familiar with the MCU version of the Hulk, there's been a lot of internal struggle about, the Hulk and existing with Bruce Banner and then turning into Professor Hulk. And so there's just so much room for revision, for adding, for chapter 2, for chapter 3. So having a topic that students can constantly revisit and revise, again, and if they're not really sure about the structure or that narratives change all the time in comic books, you can definitely have that in your library. Show them that maybe when a new author takes over a comic book series, we see a change in theme or tone or names. So there's just lots of room for this. So for Triston, I'll let you go ahead and start and talk about your secret identity.
My secret identity is Walter Beckett. He does not have a job. He steals.
So that was a follow-up question. Triston just immediately said, I like the name Walter Beckett. And sometimes, with your students, knowing when to push and say, I want more, and just great, sounds like a great name. He did say, I don't want any job. And so my follow-up question was, well, how do you make money? Again, staying true to character, remembering that he is creating an evil villain. He said, well, I'm going to steal, of course. So again, our students are really paying attention to, and this is a great transference skill of, okay, when you read a traditional essay and you had a topic sentence, did you continue to talk about that topic? Did you get off topic? How did you transition? Can we get us back to it? The more students reread, the more they have a chance to make some real intentional changes and choices. For myself, I decided no secret identity because no one knows. This again was an internal, I didn't even know about this merged twin for a long time until I, encountered this alien crystal. And so now it's been activated in me. But when Pollux goes and does her superhero stuff, it's her doing it. I still maintain my daily job. And there is a little bit of frustration there because I think Castor would like some help from Pollux sometimes. She is a nanny. Triston came up with my job, a nanny for rich people, and they asked too much of her, which again shows that he was really listening to my character because there was that motivation of, I feel so overwhelmed, I need a second of me. But there is frustration already built into my story of, I don't get to tell Pollux to come help me. Pollux has to deem the situation worthy of needing help. So sometimes Pollux is off doing her own thing and I am stuck taking care of, this rich people's home and cleaning and taking care of their children and just doing so much work. So again, I'm setting up for all these potential stories just with the character development. When you're working with your students, this can be jotting down notes. You can have charts, you can have tables, you could even have them dictate. So sometimes to get students writing, just letting them talk it out with a partner, have a tape recorder present, and let them just kind of interview each other. And a lot of times those stories will flow, especially when we're working with younger students who might have limited fine motor, that, writing a really extensive, rich, detailed story might seem like too big of a task, but they have all these really cool ideas in their head. So dictation, whether it is into a recorder or if you are working directly with the student, writing down their ideas to get them started, can make sure that the story is not limited by those fine motor skills that are still developing. So now for this next section, we would like to present some more prompts and allow you time to work on your own comic book character as we go. So as Triston presents these next topics and prompts some questions, we will then have a slide and we'll give you about 60 seconds to jot down some ideas. So going backwards, making sure that you have a character with a power, you have a name for that character, that you have a suit idea. You might have sketched something out, or again, just taken some notes about the suit that you would craft, some decisions about a secret identity, an alternate personality, or maybe you are just always this superhero. That's just who you are. Your existence, your regular persona has just, been consumed and drifted away. So if you've got that first basic sketch, you've seen how Triston and I have done it. Now Triston's going to lead you through to kind of really build this backstory, this stuff that's not always said in the story, but would help students make decisions about their character motivations, about where they would go, what choice, how they would talk. Again, developing a full character. Not all of that will show up in one story, but can help guide students about the choices they make in their stories. So Triston, the next step is for us to
tell your tragic backstory / origin story. Some examples that could help you out with telling your tragic backstory or / origin story is: did you or a loved one get hurt? Were you almost killed? Were you captured? Were you experimented on? Are you from a distant / nearby planet?
And then, as I am Team Cap, you are Team Iron Man. So can you give us a brief background origin story on Iron Man?
Iron Man is a rich, not quite sure if he's a billionaire or millionaire. I think he's like a couple hundred millionaire. I'm not sure. Anyway, but he makes weapons for the army, at least in the MCU. It could be completely different in the comics. I'm just going off the MCU. And so he makes weapons for the army, and one day he is captured and he is like forced to build weapons, except he does not build weapons. He instead builds a weapon for himself and escapes using it. Which you can see up there is his little armor.
Looks a little different than it does in the MCU. But what you can discuss with students here is themes. There are common themes that happen in stories when a character has that moment of realization, that change of heart. They experience a transformative moment and they transition into a different type of character, or this is why they've assumed that superhero power to make things right, to go back and change things, or to go the opposite way, to take revenge, to make others suffer the way they had. So we invite you right now to take the next 60 seconds. We know it's a real short, but again, this activity, when you put it into your classroom, in your library situation, you can make this a long-term 6-week project. You can make this a, when we have a free Friday, we pick up where we were. This can be very quick, which can be really inviting to some students who get maybe intimidated by a whole page of writing. Let's just take a few notes. Let's just work on the power today. Let's just work on the name today and just build as we go. So this is just for you to jot down a few ideas. Stay true to your character. Think through, what are your powers? What is your suit? And if you need to go back and revise, you can do so. So we're going to give you about 60 seconds of just thinking time, jotting down time, and then we will come back with our next topic. Okay, welcome back. If you can hear my voice, we welcome you and your character back into our session. Let's add some more. Tristan, what is the next topic that somebody could tackle?
Creating your nemesis. Sorry. Here's some examples you could use to create / name your nemesis. What started the / motivated your rivalry with them? Are you always enemies with them, or are you sometimes friends? Is it a one-time disagreement or a lifelong war? Do you always defeat them, or do you sometimes let them go, or do you just sometimes lose to them?
So again, each of these questions really extend this story that is shaping up while the students are developing their characters. At this point and throughout this can be a cooperative writing, a collaborative writing. Students can work and then check in with another student and ask for feedback. You can have these prompting questions that students can engage with somebody else's writing and kind of ask follow-up questions. Students are great about asking, but what about and what if? But if they need some prompts, if Tristan and I were paired together, I might not need to create a nemesis because he's already developing this villain character. And I'm trying to stay true to a pretty good, pure hero. And so when we talk, we might decide this is not a step we need to do. We just need to further develop our characters, knowing that they are going to be each other's nemesis. So we're going to give you 60 seconds to consider your nemesis. See you back in just a minute. Hello and welcome back. If that writing time is feeling fast, that's awesome actually to have motivation where you're like, no, I don't want to stop writing. No, I was just there. So thinking through another setting for this type of writing activity could be an after school club. So again, creating it part by part allows it to be something that students can tackle in a set amount of time, put away and come back to, and just kind of keep revisiting their puzzle pieces. So the next topic that Tristan is going to lead us through, go ahead.
She is talking about your team slash psychic. So first off, to help. So here are some examples to help you with creating your team slash psychic. First off, do you work solo? Do you work with a team, or do you work with a psychic? Do you live with your psychic slash team, or how do you get in contact with your psychic? I mean, with them. Do y'all ever fight each other, and is it a pet?
So we're noticing, again, big Marvel fans, we watched the Disney Plus series, and we're seeing a lot of unconventional sidekicks. Sometimes it's just a best friend who keeps you grounded. Sometimes it is that pet that, is just by your side and is your confidant. So if we start to think through the story elements, you've been really working on a main character, and maybe that kind of, anti-character, the one that is going to cause conflict. These can be considered the supporting characters. So once again, this is room for lots of students that they could all collaborate together to create a story, adding in various characters. Or a student can take this as an independent project and develop all elements on their own. So we invite you to consider some of the supporting characters to your comic book character. So think about your team, think about your sidekick. We'll take 60 seconds. When we come back, we'll be tackling our last character development element, and then we're going to show you how do you put it into a quick write story. See you soon. Okay, welcome back for the last story element that we are going to tackle tonight, and then we're going to show you how to put it together in a writing. So this could be considered maybe the setting. And as Tristan has pointed out, this could change based on your story. This could be temporary. This could be situational. It could be driven by the plot or the conflicts. So in the superhero world, it could be your headquarters. So if you've decided you do have a team, it could be your workspace. If you decide you just have like a sidekick and y'all need to meet up, could be the place you live. So lots of different ways that you could approach this kind of idea of a setting. So Tristan, what are some prompts they can think of when they are crafting this finer element to their character?
Some prompts you could use is it a high security or just an in plain sight, something that like your enemies would never think to look at? Is it an unexpected secret layer? Do you rest or work there, and can anyone access it?
Okay, this is your last element to developing your character. So we're going to give you 60 seconds, then we'll come back and show you how we have combined our characters for a quick write. Welcome back. Hopefully you have at least a sketch of a character. And so now we're going to show you how you can turn this character drafting, all this character development. Your students have already done so much planning and writing. Now let's put it into a story. A quick write, character meetup. So this grid is just gives you the basic plot points. You want to have two characters, whether it's two students coming together or the character and the nemesis coming together. You need a setting, a problem, a solution, and not all solutions resolve things, so a resolution. And then in true comic book style, tune in next week. So what's the next chapter going to be about? Let's have a little sneak peek. This is very quick writing. You can really contain it to this grid, but you can also have some drafting. So Tristan and I went through and those different elements and we said, okay, who are our two characters? Just to remind y'all, we're working with Imperceptible and Castor and Pollux. For our setting, and this is true of a writing process, it's okay if students don't go through this linear in a line. When we got to the setting, we weren't sure where we wanted to set it. But as we started to brainstorm, why would these characters come together? What could their interaction be? There was a natural good and evil. He's got a villain, I've got a superhero, and we played around with some ideas. This is great for brainstorming. So in what way, for what reason would these two characters meet? So potentially it could be that Imperceptible sees Pollux and is going to expose Castor. We played around with a few ideas, but we have finally decided that Imperceptible has come to rob Castor's rich employers. This made a lot of sense because they are, a robber and the riches. So then we knew the setting was obviously going to be the mansion. We talked through a lot of other questions about, so what happens next? And here is a final product. We did put it in the comic book form. And so where we have is we try to keep very short narrative, one action per slide. We opted to use Creative Commons images, a little bit of kid print art for our characters. And this is our resulting quick write. So Tristan, if you'll read our narrative.
Castor was working late one night at the McMoney's mansion while they were vacationing in McRichville. As Castor cleaned, Imperceptible slinked across the lawn and broke through a back window to enter the McMoney's mansion.
Crash!
Castor heard the crashing noise, but when she checked, she saw no one. But Pollux had a feeling there still wasn't something right. She activated and went searching the mansion on her own.
My Pollux senses are tingling. I think I'll go investigate.
Pollux could sense trouble, but she couldn't see it, or rather him. Will Pollux be able to find and stop the evil Imperceptible before he robs the McMoneys? Tune in next comic for a new power reveal. Next time, Pollux unlocks a special seeing the unseen sensibility.
So for our last thing, we do want to show that you can revise. A lot of times students say, I'm done, my story's great, but giving them, but what if this happened? What if this happened? So there's lots of ways you can take a story and revise. So for time's sake, if we were to fast forward through the beginning of the story, the changes would be Pollux could sense Imperceptible. She was drawn to him. She wanted to follow him. She wanted to commit crimes with him. Will Castor be able to break the love spell? Tune in next comic to find out if twin love or love is more powerful. Next time, Castor realizes her own superpowers to save her twin. As we said, there are some great people that we follow. Jarrett Lerner is a favorite in my house. Author, illustrator, and he is a friend to teachers and librarians. If you go to his website, so many free activities that get students learning how to draw and give them these finish the comics. Great practice for students to try out some ideas with problem solutions conflicts. Another recommendation, Cassie Stevens. She is an elementary art teacher in Tennessee, has awesome YouTubes. If you want to work with your art teachers, if you want students to truly illustrate, she has a great YouTube about creating superheroes. She also has a great YouTube about creating a 3D fold out of your superhero story. So those are some wonderful people. Jarrett Lerner also has some YouTubes about drawing your superheroes. And of course, the superhero language of rip, poof, kapow, zap. I do highly recommend his books. They get you into that comic book, graphic novel kind of mindset, because the more students read, the more they have inspiration for their own stories. We thank y'all so much for being here with us tonight. As always, you can follow up with both Triston and myself at Lauren Burrow, edd@yahoo.com. We want to say thank you to Reading with Pictures and all of their sponsors for allowing us to share our stories with you tonight. Thank you so much for coming and joining with us.